And I also hope that you are having an amazing day so far. So today we'll be doing our grade 6 English lesson on subordinating conjunction. So we'll be doing our grade 6 English lesson on subordinating conjunctions. And before we start with our lesson on subordinating conjunction, we are going to log into aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged into aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts, and then grade 6. Once we've selected the subject of language arts, grade 6, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of subordinating conjunctions. So subordinating conjunction. All right. So we said our chapter is subordinating conjunction. The subject is English, which is also language arts. Grade 6. And the lessons that we are going to be focusing on today under the chapter of grade 6 is to identify subordinating conjunctions. So we're going to identify subordinating conjunctions. And we are doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. So we're doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. So we're going to do it now. But if you also want to go back, recap, go over the specific lesson that we were busy with, you can go back to aplusstudents.ca, and basically we have the chapter, subject, grade, as well as the lesson currently on the board. All right. So basically a subordinating conjunction, right? Remember, we do have conjunctions, and then we have coordinating conjunctions, and now we have subordinating conjunctions, right? And sometimes we need to know the difference in order to eliminate the confusion. So we're not going to go into a coordinating conjunction. We're just going to go straight into a subordinating conjunction. And a subordinating conjunction, it introduces the dependent clause in a complex sentence. Remember, we said that in a complex sentence consists of a dependent clause as well as an independent clause. So a subordinating conjunction, it introduces the dependent clause within a complex sentence. The dependent clause, it tells you about the other part of the sentence and cannot stand alone. So within a complex sentence, we have an independent clause and we have a dependent clause. An independent clause can stand on its own, right? And it basically expresses a complete thought, a complete sentence. However, a dependent clause, it cannot stand on its own. So some of the common subordinating conjunctions, right? It's after, before, as, while, until, because, since, unless, although, and if. Those are the subordinating conjunctions. So if we look at our three examples, right? It says, I need to return these books before the library closes. And just a sort of hint, right? With our subordinating conjunctions, our subordinating conjunction is usually at the beginning of our dependent clause. So it's the start of the dependent clause. So I need to return this book before the library closes. So if we identify our subordinating conjunction, we can say it is before the library closes. And that is our subordinating conjunction or clause, basically. Before is the conjunction, and the dependent clause is basically before the library closes. And then, unless it's cloudy tonight, we will see the full moon. So unless it's cloudy tonight, we will see the full moon. So we will then say unless is our subordinating conjunction and our dependent clause is unless it's cloudy tonight. And I was late this morning because I forgot to set my alarm. So I was late this morning because I forgot to set my alarm. So in this case, the conjunction is because, but we take that whole dependent clause, which means because I forgot to set my alarm. So that is subordinating conjunction. So now we're going to a+students.ca. And before we go to a+students.ca, so we see the subordinating conjunction, it joins an independent clause as well as a subordinating conjunction. So it joins, right? So subordinating conjunction, it joins an independent clause with a subordinating clause. And the subordinating clause, right, it consists of the subordinating conjunction and basically the whole of the dependent clause. And here we have but a few of the subordinating conjunctions words. Right? And like we said, this usually it joins the independent as well as a subordinating clause, but this you also find in front of a dependent clause. All right. So we are now on aplusstudents.ca. So we are going to identify subordinating conjunctions. And we said that a subordinating conjunction, it introduces the dependent clause within a complex sentence. And the dependent clause tells you about the other part of the sentence that cannot stand on its own. And we said a few subordinating conjunctions are after, before, as well, until, because, since, unless, although, and if. So we need to select the subordinating conjunction, right? Because we said that a subordinating conjunction, yes, it joins the independent clause with the subordinative conjunction or dependent clause, right? And also not forgetting that the most common subordinating conjunctions are after, before, as, while, until, because, since, unless, although, and if. Right? So if we look now at this one sentence, it says, I need to return this book before the library closes. So by only looking at this one sentence, I need to return this book. That is basically a sentence that can stand on its own. And that is why we call that an independent clause. And then it also says, unless it's cloudy tonight, we will see the full moon. So if you look at the word we will see the full moon, that is basically a sentence that can, or a clause that can stand on its own, right? And then the underlined, let's say clause or group of words, unless it's cloudy tonight. So unless it's cloudy tonight, that does not sound like a proper sentence, right? Doesn't express a complete thought. But unless is our subordinating conjunction. And remember subordinating conjunctions, right? It joins an independent clause as well as a, can basically say dependent clause by using a subordinating conjunction. And here we have, I was late this morning because I forgot to set my alarm. So I was late this morning because I forgot to set my alarm. So which means that I was late this morning, right? And we join that with the subordinative, let's say, clause, starting with the subordinating conjunction, which is because. And the word because is our subordinating conjunction. So because I forgot to set my alarm. All right, so here it says that we need to select the subordinating conjunction. Jenny ended her talk early since her audience looked drowsy. So Jenny ended her talk early since her audience looked drowsy. And if we select the subordinating conjunction within the sentence, and then we're going to say since. So basically, since our audience looked drowsy, because that is now the dependent clause. But since alone is a subordinating conjunction. But Jenny ended her talk early since her audience looked drowsy. All right, let's go to the next one. It says Scarlett thought carefully as Kendrick waited for an answer. So Scarlett thought carefully as Kendrick waited for an answer. So we say that Scarlett thought carefully as Kendrick waited for an answer. So we now need to select the subordinating conjunction or the subordinating clause within that sentence. And if we select the subordinating conjunction from the sentence, and then we're going to say, so Scarlett thought carefully as Kendrick waited for an answer. So we can say as Kendrick waited for an answer, that is our dependent clause, but the word as is our subordinating conjunction. As. So as Kendrick waited for an answer, that is the dependent clause, and as is a subordinating conjunction. Turn the burner off before you leave the laboratory. So turn the burner off before you leave the laboratory. So we need to select the subordinating conjunction as well as the dependent clause. So turn off the burner or turn the burner off before you leave the laboratory. So if we select the subordinating conjunction, and then we can say it is before. So it's before. But if we select the dependent clause, right, then we say it is before you leave the laboratory. Then it means that you need to turn the burner off. But it is before you leave the laboratory. And the word before in that sense is a subordinating conjunction. All right, let's go to our test. It says that we must identify a subordinating conjunction. So we need to select the subordinating conjunction. For example, Jenny ended her talk early since her audience looked drowsy. So is it Jenny ended her talk early since her audience looked drowsy? Or Jenny ended her talk early since her audience looked drowsy? So if we select the subordinating conjunction, is it since or ended? Since or ended? All right, so we will then say since. So Jenny ended her talk early since her audience looked drowsy. You should go to the museum since we have a season pass. So we should go to the museum since we have a season pass. So we need to select the subordinating conjunction. Is it we should go to the museum since we have a season pass? Or we should go to the museum since we have a season pass? So we need to select the subordinating conjunction. Is it since or go? All right, so we're going to choose the first one because it says we should go to the museum since we have a season pass. And that is correct. Well done. We need to select the subordinating conjunction. While Elizabeth was out, someone left a package on her doorstep. So we need to select the subordinating conjunction. So while Elizabeth was out, someone left a package on her doorstep. And remember, your subordinating conjunction can also be as the start of a sentence, for example. So while Elizabeth was out, someone left a package on her doorstep. So we need to select the subordinating conjunction. Is it while in the first one or someone in the second package? All right, so we will go with the first one, while. All right, and while was correct. Now we need to select the subordinating conjunction. If we are lucky, we may glimpse a rare bird. That's if. Or if we're lucky, we may glimpse a rare bird. So we need to select the subordinating conjunction. And we're going to choose the first one. And if is correct. And then we're going to select the subordinating conjunction. So Bruce was nervous, although, or Bruce was nervous, although there was no reason to worry. So this is the first one, which is Bruce was nervous, although, or the second one, which is Bruce was nervous, although there was no reason to worry. Oh, we're going to choose although. And although is correct. We need to select the subordinating conjunction. I don't want scary movies unless they are also a bit humorous. Or I don't want scary movies unless they are also a bit humorous. So I don't watch scary movies unless they are also a bit humorous. And we have chosen our word. All right. So we need to select the subordinating conjunction. Grass is green because it contains chlorophyll or chlorophyll. So grass is green because it contains chlorophyll. So is it green? Grass is green because it contains chlorophyll, or grass is green because it contains chlorophyll. So if we select the correct subordinating conjunction, we will say it is because. So grass is green, then a dependent clause starts because it contains chlorophyll. So because is our subordinating conjunction. So now we're going on to our tutorial clause. So grass is green because it contains chlorophyll. Or grass is green because it contains chlorophyll. Or we can look at the second one, which is grass is green because it contains chlorophyll. So we need to select the subordinating conjunction. So grass is green because it contains chlorophyll. So now we need to choose between these two. Yes. And chlorophyll is our answer. Now we need to select the subordinating conjunction. So before we draw any conclusions, we should collect more evidence. So before we draw any conclusions, we should collect all or more evidence. So now we need to choose from the test. Is it before we draw any conclusions? We should collect more evidence, or before we draw any conclusions, we should collect more evidence. We are still by identifying. So far we have identified subordinating conjunctions, right? And we said a subordinating conjunction, it basically joins an independent clause as well as a dependent clause, right? And the word that is used to join these two sentences are subordinating clauses. And that includes, for example, words like after, before, as, while, until, because, since, unless, although, and if. Those are the common subordinating conjunction. And remember, there is like a slight difference in um, co- coordinating conjunctions and subordinating conjunction. And usually, when it comes to joining, so yeah, we said we need to select the subordinating conjunction. After the play ended, we went backstage to compliment the actors. So after the play ended, we went backstage to compliment the actors. So if we select our subordinating conjunction, it would be after. So after the play ended, we went backstage to compliment the actors. Here we need to select the subordinating conjunction. Do you want to play a word game until the fairy leaves? So here it says, do you want to play a word game until the fairy arrives? So do you want to play a game until the fairy arrives? So do in the sentence is our conjunction. So do you want to play a word sorry, not even yeah, do you want to play a word game until the fairies arrives? No, it's actually until the fairies arrives. All right. And there we have, once again, a breakdown of what a subordinating clause is or conjunction is. Let's do one more. Although the story is short, it has an important message. So, although the story is very short, it has an important message. So, although the story is short, it has an important message. So, we'll go with although. So, we'll go with although the story is short, it has an important message. All right, so that is now the end of our lesson on so although is our subordinating conjunction. This thing, oh, it's working. All right, so basically that is now the end of our lesson grade sixes on subordinating conjunction, right? And we made a few, not even examples, but we mentioned some of the common subordinating conjunction, which is after, before, as, well, until, because, since, unless, although, and if. So that is words, and we call that the subordinating conjunction. So thank you very much for joining the class. Really means a lot, and you should have a good day further. Goodbye.